Hey everybody, my name is Alex Haney and today I'm going to be talking to you about mistakes I made on my recent winter backpacking trip in Killarney Provincial Park. So luckily none of these mistakes came with super dire consequences except for one that could have been really bad. The reason I'm sharing these tips with you guys is so you don't have to make the same mistakes, so here we go. Mistake number one is that I would make some key changes to my toiletry kit. Most notably, I brought this big thing of hand sanitizer, which I would bring on that length of a trip in the summer or fall months, but I underestimated how much my gloves would actually be on and how little time my hands were actually exposed and getting any bacteria on them that would necessitate this kind of thing. So next time I would probably bring a little thing of sanitizer. Another issue that ties into the whole hand sanitizer thing is that next time I would definitely bring more gloves for different purposes. You know, because of the fact that you can't really wash your hands when your hands are covered up all the time, I would definitely, you know, at least bring a light pair for eating in, you know, a pair just for hiking in and sleeping in maybe, and then one for working with the fire if you're gonna be doing that, which I was. So, you know, because I only had really one option for my hands, a lot of the time I would have to take off those gloves that were too dirty so I could eat my food. Things like that would be a lot easier if I had different gloves for different purposes. I don't know, I would love to hear how other people deal with this issue. I would also definitely bring a pair of more waterproof gloves. This kind of became a problem when I would be doing dishes. I usually ended up taking my gloves off to do dishes, and I would always warm the water up before doing dishes so it wouldn't be too bad on my hands and it would clean easier, but it was so cold out that by the time I was done cleaning the pot, it was almost all ice. It would just be all slushy ice in the pot. So, you know, it would be really nice to just have a pair of maybe neoprene gloves, I don't know. I also brought this little tube of sunscreen, which, you know, in the summer this would be a little amount to bring for me if I'm covering up a lot of skin and protecting it from the sun, but again, I underestimated, you know, just how covered up I would be all the time and how little sunscreen I would actually use, and that leads me to another point is that I didn't actually ever end up using this because a lot of the time it was frozen solid and the only skin that was showing was a little bit on my face anyway. So probably next time what I would do is bring a little amount and maybe bring some kind of stick or something, like or something small I could put in my pocket. So that kind of ties into my mistake number two, which is underestimating just how much of our stuff would actually freeze solid and how quickly it would happen. I knew certain things were a danger of freezing over and I knew how to deal with those, like for example our soap, but I did end up bringing these drops for water treatment. You're not supposed to use filters in that cold temperatures because it's not good for the filter, so I had to bring some kind of purification, and I knew these things could freeze, so most of the time, you know, pretty much the whole time I had these in my pocket and it was fine. But one night I just happened to empty my pockets just for a couple of minutes before using this treatment, and then when it came time to actually use them, they were frozen solid within a matter of minutes. So we did end up thawing them out by the fire, which only took a minute, but then after that it kind of had a weird taste to the water, and I'm not sure if that's something that happened because of the freezing and thawing process. So after that we didn't use that, we just melted snow. Another thing that I would do is I would bring adequate insulation for the ground. So if you watched the part one of my preparation for this trip, you know that I brought one insulated pad to sleep on, and then our plan was to gather, you know, boughs from trees to use as extra insulation on the ground. And yeah, that worked, but I don't think that I would do that again because it ended up taking a lot longer than I thought it would, and there's just so many chores already to do winter camping. And on top of that, it ended up taking a lot more of those boughs than I thought it would to shield us from the ground, especially because mostly the ground was completely iced over. So ice is really bad for that. You really need a lot of insulation from that if you're gonna stay warm at night. I kind of ended up feeling guilty about the amount of stuff that I was cutting out of the trees. So next time I would definitely bring another pad to put on top of that. It'd be faster, better for the environment, just simpler overall. So luckily none of these mistakes came with super dire consequences except for one that could have been really bad. I had checked conditions with the park about a week prior to our trip, and they had said that people were snowshoeing, so all seemed fine, but then For a while, right before our trip, it got warmer and it started raining a lot, and that ended up washing all the snow away. But then after all that happened, there was another cold snap. What ended up happening because of that is there was no snow, but there was lots of ice. And that made things challenging for a couple reasons, most notably being traction. So there was no point in us bringing our snowshoes because there was hardly any snow on the ground. There was none in the forecast. But because of all the ice, it was pretty treacherous at times, and we had a couple falls that were a bit scary. Gotta get a shot of my bloody nose. Maybe a sane person would have turned around and gone home, but you know, luckily we survived okay. Definitely next time I wouldn't do this trip again without some kind of extra traction on our boots. There are these things called Catula micro spikes that I had been looking into getting, and it'll be a purchase I'll definitely be making this year. If I was snowshoeing this same trail, I probably would still bring those spikes because there are some really rocky sections that we'd have to take our snowshoes off for. Alright, thanks for watching guys. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and I'll make more videos like this. Be sure to check out some of my other videos in this Killarney Trek series. I'll see you guys next time.